Hey, what's up everybody on YouTube? So I had a question on my J3U forum on using a SARM only cycle for someone that was their first exposure to using any type of anabolic agent and was not going to use like a TRT testosterone as a first application. Kind of we're asking my thoughts around it. So SARMs, selective androgen receptor blockers, there's a few out that have, usually these are marketed just as research chemicals. There's currently no FDA approved SARM as I'm making this video. Some have gotten pretty close, but the idea behind them is having all the anabolic activity specific to androgen receptor at skeletal muscle and avoiding a lot of the other androgenic components and off-target site actions that come with all the other steroids in the regard, as far as acne, hair loss, prostate, etc., etc., etc. And this is more so even for females that have all the viralization effects that can occur, and loss of menses. So this is trying to find drugs that just work specifically on increasing skeletal muscle mass. So there's a lot of that application for like cachexia or muscle loss, and avoiding all these other effects that occur from use of anabolic androgenic steroids. So my issue with the idea of SARMs is that you kind of have the same endpoint. Being that what do you do after your SARM cycle? And I think this is more so specifically for males, because what you're creating environment-wise is using a SARM is it still has off-site action at the dosages that are being used. And dosages any lower are just so low in efficacy, and also it's occurring a lot of the same issues that you would get using other steroids. So we still see, and what I see even clients that come to me that have used SARMs in their labs, is they're still seeing dyslipidemia, lowering of HDL, elevation of liver enzymes, and it's still shutting down the HPTA axis and having lower testosterone levels after, which needs some type of recovery period. So you can't use these SARMs for a long duration. It's still almost like using like an oral anabolic androgenic steroid and shutting down that axis. And so what do you do from there? Well, you have to wait some type of time period where there's going to be this down effect that occurs, loss of some mass, loss of strength gains, and then you're going to recover at some point, health markers are back, and then you're going to do this other SARM cycle. Well, over time, that repeated bout effect of just increasing oxidative stress in the testes through the same actions that are taking place through other steroids is very liable you're going to end up having to be used on TRT anyway. So the idea of that is that that bout of time when you're running all these SARMs is kind of leading you to this point of getting to TRT, because if you're going to do this one time, I mean that's, I guess you can get a kind of a taste for what this might be like, but still it's a very unsustainable route to venture down. Also, I think there's a lot greater health risk with being a male and exposing yourself to this, because with that shutdown process, you're also not giving yourself a way to have normalized endogenous estradiol levels and DHT levels, all which have protective aspects for using androgens. So that's why I think testosterone as a starting point makes a lot of sense, starting with a TRT dosage and then escalating up from there, and because that's also going to serve as a source for estradiol and DHT, all which have additional benefits when you're looking for strength hypertrophy outcomes. So start there and then escalate from there, versus starting with the SARM and having that be your endpoint anyway, regardless. But I also think you'll see much more health protective effects than this up and down roller coaster of using SARMs. So currently I don't have any recommendations or have any clients using these compounds, and still sticking to compounds that we've used for years on end and have clinical data and have approval at some point in history of these drugs being utilized. At some point, there's going to be probably some SARM comes out that has just amazing efficacy, and I think it's going to have more so that role for females, but for males it doesn't make sense for all the reasons that I just provided. But anyway, if you have a question on a SARM or anything I just mentioned around first time exposure to anabolics, leave it below. Happy to answer for y'all.